I remember the song my mother used to sing each and every morning. There's flowers blooming outside, and there is the love inside the brothers and sisters' mind. So they can't be good, they've gotta be careful. I remember one rainy day in March. My mom, she said me I should get some job. I was the only one.
Mother's Day.
So I had to shop and cook and clean all day long. Without the father, only the mother.
Mother's Day. Mother's Day.
That's why I
I Black
pray.
Sunday School. Mother's Day.
Always my neighbor. People stay by there. Oh, I remember the song my mother used to sing each and every morning.
Hail up, hail up. Greetings, greetings, greetings.
There's a flower blooming outside, and there is the love inside the brothers and sisters' mind. So if they can't be good, they've gotta be.
They call today Mother's Day. What does it really mean?
That's why I praise him for his mighty word. Keep us day by day. Oh, I pray.
We're in the month of May,
Song my mother used to sing
2025.
each and every morning.
There is a new Pope.
There's a flower blooming outside, and there is the love inside the brother and sister's mind. So if they can't be good, then gotta be careful.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, oh the song my mother used to sing.
Yes, greetings and welcome. Introduction song to I Black Sunday School that falls on the day that is being celebrated as Mother's Day. So on this particular Monday, Mother's Day, the I Black Sunday School will use the opportunity to raise some of the questions and the issues that face ones and ones at the Sunday school level as it relates to the whole idea and the concept of mother. Yeah, what and how do we come to our knowledge of what a mother is and who is a mother? That we're now celebrating Mother's Day. So I have to reflect on my childhood days from the time going to Sunday school because we're checking out the curriculum of Sunday school. and the effect the curriculum has had on us from that time till this time. The Sunday school curriculum, which is based upon the stories of the Bible. And as per usual, the Sunday school here focuses on 3 particular books to help in the liberation of Black consciousness. Focus on the Genesis, the Exodus, and the Revelations. The 3 confounding books of metaphors and allegories and all sorts of devices of English being used to express ideas through stories. And as African people, we are traditionally known to carry our history through our stories. The fancy name is oral tradition, oral history. So stories are not a strange site for us to get knowledge and hearing from, but now we must develop the capacity to examine these stories without fear, without any superstition. Examination of stories presented to us, particularly now in this book called the Bible. How does it relate to mothers? What does it tell us about mothers? And again, the foundation is African-centered, Black, Caribbean, Rastafari, all forming a center of analysis and perspective. So, my early experiences in the Sunday school thing and mothers is that to get stories about first mother, who is the mother of God, who is the mother of this, and we need to start again and stop and start again. And let us return to the source of this information about mother and woman. Here is the first place we get the indoctrination. And in the Sunday school, we turn to the same book of Genesis. And in the same story on chapter 1 of about creation. Because we are told that this is the sequence of how the earth and the manifestation of life on the earth was created in a sequence. Life in the water, that the life became amphibious and the life could be able to live in both land and water. And then there were birds and reptiles, and we get a whole sequence of events unfolding over millions and millions of years. But the story is condensed into a story, so it looks like it's a one-day event. That in one day this happened, and in the second day that happened. That is not a practical demonstration of reality. That is our writers condensing time and space into stories. So we get this story about these events that happen over a certain amount of days. But here comes the climax. The climax is on the 6th day. And now we're going to see how we know as people who read in this story, how we come into it. Because prior to that, there are no people. Animals, birds, reptiles, fish, all trees, all other forms of life, we are told, have been put in place. And the trees are breathing oxygen and the place ready. Animals, them breathing up and everything ready now. So it's just ready now for the human being to appear. And the stage and the thing and the bells ring and ta-da! Here comes the human being. And it's not a woman. The first human being we are told in the story is a male, not a man. And here I want to make a distinction now between male and man. Because we are being introduced to these terms now out of the same book. And they have meaning within the context of English and them confusing language. So we're going to look at Eve and Adam. We're going to look at that fable a little bit. Because some of us are convinced through the story that Eve is the mother of all people. That she is the mother of mankind. Check this now. Now, before we even get introduced to Eve, there is the male called Adam. And Adam, we are told, has no sexual consciousness, no sense of emotion towards anything else, because there is no female yet created. So perhaps his only affinity was to the animals. So we can, through reasoning, realize that Adam was very, very friendly with the animals. Very friendly with the animals. The animals were copulating and they were reproducing. Animals were having sex. And Adam wasn't having none as far as people to people is concerned, because there is no person. So the story begins to struggle now. And the creator now of this garden plantation suddenly, after creating all of these magnificent planets and stars, suddenly realized that the male needs a female. These are questions I used to ask. So how come the thing happen in that order? How come it's like a forgetting going, like you make something you forget so it can't work without something else and then you make the next thing. So from very early I used to question the fullness of these stories or it relates to practicality. But you can't question nobody and you can ask these questions, you and your parents end up in hell. But the interrogative mind is functioning, but it's being stifled. So we are given this story now in the second chapter about this creation now of a male out of the dirt. Out of the dirt. Well, let us stop right there for a minute. There's no woman yet, as far as that story in chapter 2 is concerned. There is no female yet. It's just the animals and a male named Adam. Obviously, within language, Adam could mean more than one person. Adam could be a race of people. We don't know what the writer meant or what the writers were implying through the language. But our singular brain and the way we are conditioned, we just see things literal. So we just see Adam as a male, one man. In the same context, we could also say Eve could represent a whole group of people, a race of people, a nation of people. But we don't open to these interpretations and possibilities because of fear. And ultimately now, the point I want to get at before we go any further now, what I'm speaking about now is in chapter 2, you know. It's not the creation. Chapter 2 of the Genesis is not the creation. The creation is in chapter 1. I want to make that point clear and make it over and over. Chapter 2 in the Genesis is not the creation story. The creation mythology is in chapter 1. So something else is being created in chapter 2. And we just return to chapter 1 and look at what chapter 1 said, that on the 6th day, God created man. Now, this man construct is not a single male. This is man with an uppercase M. Symbolize a person. A person that represents more than a singular person. Because the story says, let us make man, females and males, created he them. This is what the text said. So man is not a singular entity in that context. Man represents males and females. Males and females created he them plural. And they were given instructions to go out and multiply and replenish the earth. This is from the 6th day. And on the 7th day, the creation ended. So the 8th and the 9th and the 10th days is not the creation. Eve and Adam is not the creation story. It's a fable. Eve and Adam now is tacked on as an allegory. To talk about how certain people will speak about how society is going to begin. And you need people to begin the idea of a society. In the chapter 1, the story says that males and females were created, sent out and multiplied to replenish the earth. So the earth was populated even before God rested on the 7th day. So Eve and Adam is not the creation. The creation has manifested itself that it has millions of people on the earth already, thousands of people populating the earth. And that gives validity now to where this Eve and Adam children could have found other people. Because Eve and Adam is not the creation of the original man, which is the pigmented black people. These are the people spoken of in chapter 1, when the Almighty Force said, let us make them. Males and females created he them. That has nothing to do with Eve and Adam and the story that comes in chapter 2. So when I want to talk about mothers, it's obvious that Eve could not be the original mother of any creation. That the females and males who were created to multiply and replenish the earth, they were all fathers and mothers. So we have to break out of that illusion of this Eve story that black women now tie up themselves into Eve as the foundation of the woman. That can't be. Black man, overthink about this. Black woman, are you saying the original black woman came out of bone of a male that was made out of the dirt? Yes, it's time for thinking. It's time for reflection on the reality of the stories, whether they are fictional, whether they're allegorical, but to know the difference between those phrases and literal reality. So Mother's Day for the African can't be viewed through the lens of religious and biblical stories. That this woman now will become the foundation of evil. Yeah, do we still embrace that? That it is through Eve why sin entered the world, and all these characteristics apply to the female. We have to stop and think. Because within African tradition, the female and the male are complementary forces. They're not in opposition. They complement each other. So, Mother's Day is an economic practice in 2025 and in the previous years. It's an economic system that, to me, oppress man and put financial burdens on man that are irrelevant. The consciousness would suggest that there should be a Parents' Day. But that is the foundation of the child, not the mother or the father, as independent beings. It has complementary forces, so why not celebrate the power of complementarity? So, Blak Sundayschool are checking on the foundation of woman. Is Eve the mother of all mothers? And then what was race? What was the race of Eve if she came out of the bone of a man? What was her racial makeup? Because her children surely will have her traits of the race that she is. How do we move from there? And are we accepting as black people that it is that pair that created the two children that became murderers and brought death and cruelty more into the earth? We have to unlearn that story. Cain and Abel can't be the generation that came from Eve and Adam that led to black people. We can't claim that. When Cain killed Eve and ran away, he found a woman. That woman was existing in the earth for thousands of years from her generation. These and she probably represent the descendants of man, people. And these are people of pigmentation, people who can live around the equator, people who can live in the sun, people who are harmonized with the melanin pigmentation and the chlorophyll pigmentation of the plants. So the woman, later on in our Sunday school now we hear about Mother Mary. And that's the woman now, she is now the mother of God, because God come back again through his son. And we must worship Mary as the mother of God. So we rest as a people, we are the powers of our women, we are our queens and empresses. So we gone down into this mother of God thing. And she was gave birth to a miraculous, immaculate conception, suggesting everything was just white, and ultimately no sex. And we can't hold that. So black women, black man, are we at the level where we are accepting that a child can be born without sperm? We hold on to that thing about birth without sex. And the agency was an angel that carried the Holy Spirit. And from that came the Son of God. And the only way now to get to the Father God now is through the Son. It's business. That is the economics and the politics of the religion called Jesus. And most of our people trapped on the religion and the philosophy of the Jesus. Because the Jesus has been projected now as the son of this God thing that was there that created heaven and earth and hell. Where could we just heaven and earth? So where did hell come from and who created hell? So these are some of the things and I will ask in the blocks. Want to ask in the traditional Sunday school, but dare not. Dare not. For the sake of my own self and my family. Because I will be considered now out of line. But we need more people to come out of line, that we form a different line. We form an original line that deals with consciousness of a blackness. Yeah, Mother's Day is a symbolic day in a certain way. So without the understanding of the role of the togetherness, fathers and mothers, we miss the boat. We miss the boat. And fathers and mothers have been institutions that have been attacked by slavery and colonization. But a lot of things have been in reverse now. Feminine behaving masculine and masculine behaving feminine and some behaving in all different forms of way, losing consciousness. Women claiming to be men now and men claiming to be women and apples and oranges and the thing getting mixed up. We have to hold the foundation that it is female and the male, that is unity, that is a union. No letters in between. And so we deal with care and respect at that foundation level. Everything else will grow after that. So you don't have to put on a special effort for mother if you have a care for a woman and if you have respect for women. Care and respect is the foundation. So I got Sundayschool, Mother's Day, checking out the mother concepts and the concept of a mother coming out of a different culture. How should we deal with the African mother? How do we deal with the mother of several children? How do we deal with the mother of several children from different fathers? So we have to spend time studying the female. Because she is the foundation, and when you attack the female in the system, the family get disturbed. So we're not into the over glorification. We need a consciousness that pulls the male and the female into a parents' day. Yeah, parents' day. And we no longer strive for this 50-50 relationship because it's not a business. So it's a combination of talents, 70-30 sometimes, 60-40 sometimes, 50-50. Any which way to go to get to the 100 and the Holy Union. So, I call it that for another Sunday. You can always check me on the email, iblak@yahoo.com. Or you check me on Facebook, Metamorphosis, or Iman Black. And put forward your issues. I get a couple questions sometimes from people. One of the questions being sent forward about this religion thing is where God come from. Yeah, where God come from. Who responsible for creating God? After them tell us that God do all of these creative things. What is responsible for God's creation? Everything had to be created according to the story. So the questions are continuous. And the issues remain whether we even need anything God or not. Is that not just a concept created by the brain of man? Because there's a binary established, between God representing good and the devil representing evil. We have been given that as a binary. And we're locked into that and think that the whole life is a struggle now between good and evil. Yeah, we're caught up into that. But the struggle is between the powerful and the powerless. That's what we need to understand. So it's not about getting good, it's about getting power. Because if you're good, you're good. And if you're evil, you're evil. But when you're powerless, whether you're good or you're evil, it really don't make no difference. You lack power. So I need to get away from the good and evil binary and realize not only good and evil is a binary, there's a third force called indifference. And the moral universe and the universe that surrounds us generally is not a duality, it's a trinity. We have a three-dimensional environment. It's not a two-dimensional. We have to recognize our thinking power. It has been bounded up in an oppositional thinking, either or either. So it's forward or backward. There's no position for neutral. We don't recognize neutral because we don't realize the power of the three in one. The three in one is not a Christian thing. It's a force that manifests through the nature, the elements, the proton, the neutron, and the electron. It's three in one in three. The past, the present, and the future is three in one and one in three. So if we begin to look at the three-dimensional world, so breaking out of the either either, that we can say neither. So they'll come to you and tell you, say, well, you know, it's either good or evil, and I'm saying it's neither. None of them, none of those things have the value that I am aspiring for. I am indifferent, or I have a different foundation, but I don't have to move between the binaries of up and down and in and out. There is always a tertiary middle ground. The coin is a perfect example. Coin has three sides. But most people, 95% of persons, will only notice the head and the tail. The third side is the side that is the rim. That side can roll. It can move the coin distant places. And we're going to wrap up by making an analogy with the third side of the coin and what's happening in the world today. Our perspective of the world from the 1940s, that the world was a binary, two poles, East versus West, Russia versus America. And that has been our overstanding and image for the last 80 years. But within the last 50 years, the two sides have grown muscle. In other words, one side is America, and alongside America is the European Union, United Kingdom, Australia, New Zealand, and even Japan. So that side of the coin has gotten heavier. But the other side now, which is the tail, is Russia and China and India and North Korea. That side and the Arab nation now, that side again heavy too. But African people, we are there, but we're not on either head or tail. We are on the side of the third side of the coin. And this is the side that is now rising consciously about itself. That is not there just to catch up the head and the tail, but it's there to express itself. So the third side of the coin, the third dimension is rising. The renaissance of Africa. That is the third dimension rising. Because we're living in a three-dimensional world. But Bible stories lock us up in that two-dimensional thing. Likewise, the politics in Jamaica, the PNP or GLP. Politics in America, Republican and Democrat. The people get locked into a binary. So it's either up or down. No middle ground. No fourth position. So we have to intellectually strive to achieve the liberation of the third side. That is the power of where people of indifference and so forth rests. Some people call it them on the fence. But it's usually the greater majority that is neither good nor evil. Greater majority is usually just indifferent. And it is indifferent people that really will have to change the glamour and the context of the world. It's these people will have to get involved and begin to strive toward achieving the power that the evil have. Not evil power, you know, power. And power in this world, as we know, is economic, it's military, it's psychological. And of course, we have all other different types of power, scientific, etc. But fundamentally, it's intellectual, military, political, economic. And we're not fooling ourselves anymore. Ibrahim Traore has emerged as evidence that the power of resource rests primarily first in the brain. The resources of a country is not in the ground first, it's in the brain of the people. And when they develop resource in the brain comes to consciousness, it realizes the value that is under the ground. It realizes the value of the environment and begin to transform those values now into assets and things that are beneficial to the people of the land. Chawori has just subtly, not suddenly, Chawori has had to emphasize that without apology to anybody, without seeking validation from no one. So the Renaissance is on. And we're breaking out of this binary thinking of configurations that we set up. Ultimately, you know, it is so serious that when we talk about up and down, we think that the north is up. And we think that the south is down. And so we go up north and we go down south. But how did that happen? How did north become up? Up normally suggests you're progressing, you know. How did it not become up? And I look into Africa for an answer. And I find it in the River Nile. The longest Nile, longest river, flowing out of the mountain of Uganda to the Mediterranean Sea. And no river flows uphill. No river can flow upwards. So from the Mediterranean to the mountains where the river starts, it's not going up. It has to be going down. How it go? Where the island think? So in the north, I am saying it's going down. When you travel towards the north, you're going down, deeper into the ice box. But then man, flip it up, flip it. And tell you that we go up north. Because when you go up north, you get closer to white people, get closer to higher civilization, and you get closer to the God. When you go south, you go down south, going down into hell where the sun is hot, and you go to black like the devil. But the thing is upside down. When you travel from the north to the south, you travel from Algeria to Southern Africa. In other words, I suggest that the map is upside down. Or they put it. And north is not up, but north is down. And the south is where we go up to get closer to the sun. Thoughts, ideas. Give thanks for the ones who have listened. And subscribe to the channel. We're going to deal with issues that confront us as young children with questions. Even today, some are afraid to ask because they may lose their soul. We talk next time about the soul. What is the soul? What is the soul and what is the difference between the soul and the spirit? And what are these things we are trying to save when we all have an expiration date? What is the value of saving your soul at the expense of the generation and the posterity to come? The pigmentation of the soul, of the skin, is closely related to the soul of the black man. Just all that. Yeah, the soul of the African is closely connected to the pigmentation powers of his own skin. So, Blak, Sunday School, Mother's Day, and we celebrate the mother fathers. Yes, the mother fathers, the fathers who have stood up when certain mothers have run away. And we will not shy away from that side of the coin. It's not just about irresponsible males. And bringing a child doesn't give you the qualification of just being a mother. It's a whole different thing. We have that problem deep. Where young females think that having a child is a sign of their being a woman. And other single mothers who have daughters sometimes perpetuate the same idea that until they pick me up a child, they must say the picnic. So the child goes out and have another child. And that makes she and the mother all right. So we have quite a bit to unlearn. But we have to identify the foundation is female and male. Yeah, none is superior to the other from the beginning. But the responsibilities and roles are different. What must be shared. Yeah, we never have a manuscript, that tell us how to raise our black children. We just come off of the plantation and we just have to conduct the same type of behavior how them treat we as the slaves. So we start treat our children. No reasoning. It's pure boof, boof, boof and licks. Because what else did we know? But you're more qualified now to use words. So let us not be trapped in the words of the Bible. Yeah, final thing now for this session. I got a phone call from my brother, I and him grow from primary school years and before. And after a good long hour and a half, and we were finalizing the talk, he ultimately said, boy, that's why I have to trust Master God and his son. And I said, what do you mean? I said, I understand the Master God thing, I mean, you grew up on the same God thing, but I said, why you have to trust his son? And I'm kind of stumbled as well, because ultimately I have to ask him, why and when did we have to get to the Father through a son? Look how long our generations been dealing with the Father. Straight. No, no need for no operator. And all of a sudden, you think change. Let me introduce the Son of God now, and you can't get to the Father anymore because you have to go through the Son of God and him have a whole of religious things set up on him rituals and him tax collection and everything. So here comes the Pope. And this Pope now is the head of the tax collection of the Roman Catholic Church. It's them come with the Jesus Christ thing for seeing Roman Catholic Church. That this Pope now symbolize the earthly representative of Jesus Christ. People, okay, you can manage that. This man was been elected, is a politician. And under the Muslim religious laws and things, him is the earthly representative of the Jesus Christ that you holding on to as the Son of God. Him is a vicar of Christ. Coming from the days of the Roman Empire and Peter and all them characters that we think are real. So here we are in 2025, and all the believers in Jesus Christ looking at the earthly representative of what them think is them Savior. And where is the Savior? Sitting in heaven beside his Father. How high up? Beyond the space station. Because the United States had 2 astronauts stranded on the station for 8 months. So it's very obvious that wherever Jesus is with the Father in heaven is way beyond the space station. And if you embrace that type of thinking, then it's very obvious that the cow can jump over the moon. So it's a time for thinking, it's a time for reflecting on Bible stories, on Sunday school training, and what the program has done to us. And how do we undo the damage? How do we unlearn them kind of stories there? Stories that make the woman an inferior to the male because she come out of his rib. That is a joke. Because that's what rib means in Old English, a joke. And she must be his helpmeet. So servants, plantations, we are now reviewing Bible stories without any fear of going to hell, because hell and heaven and earth is just one thing. States of consciousness, particularly heaven and hell, and earth remains the force that abideth for all times is the earth. Yeah, there is no beginning of the earth and there is no end to the earth. The earth is eternal. Animals and plants and forms of life come and go. Yes, so we're going out. Yeah? Yeah, we're celebrating the consciousness of the mother. The provider of the egg and the environment for the sperm to enter. Yeah, so, Blak, moving on. Yeah, I got you. The mother was the centerpiece of the attack during the slavery system. You attack the female, you attack the family and the children. The mothers will protect the family. The fathers have to defend it. Fathers have to defend the family. The mothers are just protecting the way they can. We need no such a definition for mother and father and food. Yeah, so there I go, yeah. My guest in my next output should be Melanin Royalty making another appearance on the Blak Sundayschool. Wonderful, powerful energy, the feminine principle. Hey, constant respect.